let's talk about the court ruling.
Yeah.
How did we get here? Why did they say that this was indeed lawful?
Right. So the question was, is this ban constitutional? And the argument was it was a First Amendment violation. And so they were arguing that that both TikTok and the users had a First Amendment right. And the court said, no, this isn't a First Amendment issue, and that this Chinese-owned company doesn't have this First Amendment right. And the issue was more about national security. And so there was a twofold issue, is that one, they're saying, hey, the Chinese government can send in these covert messages through its algorithm, and so they said it's a national security, and because of the massive amounts of data. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
No, you're fine.
It's the massive amounts of data that they're gathering that's the real issue. And so that's what the Supreme Court really got stuck on. And they said national security, they're going to defer to the executive branch. So it was really that issue of national security and all the data that they're gathering. So they said that overrides these other rights, and therefore the ban is effective.
Well, the timing of this is so interesting, right? Because Sunday is the day before a new administration swoops in. So, like, who's going to enforce this? How do you just turn an app dark, right?
Well, and that's part of the issue. And the Biden administration said, hey, enforcement, Sunday's his last day. That's the day the ban goes into effect. It's the executive branch that enforces the law. And they said, we're going to have to defer to the incoming administration. So it's going to be up to that administration to actually enforce the ban. Now, what's interesting, though, is President-elect Trump has indicated he's now trying to figure out a workaround, do some kind of political workaround. And the issue is going to be Google and Apple, for example, if they maintain the app online, which I think they actually will, they face serious penalties. It could be $5,000 per user, and there's 170 million users in the U.S. So they're going to be in limbo. Now, if President-elect Trump instructs the DOJ not to enforce, then I could see it staying on. Now, of course, they won't be able to implement updates. So eventually, the app will be unusable if it all stands like this. Now, there's still the possibility of a sale to an American company. The owner of the Dodgers actually made an offer last week. But part of the problem with the sale is the Chinese government prevents sales of their proprietary algorithms. And as you and I were talking about, it's the TikTok algorithm that makes it so popular, and
it's so good. Yeah. I mean, it really intrinsically knows what you want, and it just feeds you that information. So you kind of understand, the concern about national security, because it really it keeps you on that app for hours, speaking from experience, for hours at a time. When it comes to an executive order, can Trump just step in and be like, nope?
Yeah. Well, that's going to be a question. So, if he tries to do it with an executive order, the law that was passed that President Biden signed in April, that's a statute. And so legally, a statute, I don't think you're going to be able to override a statute with an executive order. He can certainly try, and I suspect that may be one thing that is a possibility. And if so, if they actually put if it's between the executive order and the statute, it will go to court. It'll go, up through the appellate court. I think the statute will stand. So I don't know what you could do with the executive order, but the law actually says if there's a sale pending or if there's a movement towards a sale, then the president can implement a 90-day stay. So how far into that sale it needs to be is a question. So there's also that route. So there's a lot of unknowns here. And the court was very specific. Even though they made this ruling, they said this is very specific to this situation. So it's not going to create broad sweeping precedent. This is going to be specific to TikTok, ByteDance, and this situation.
Yeah, something tells me the end of the story is not happening on Sunday, and we will be talking about this for weeks, potentially months to come.
Yes.
So
and
be on standby.
And I'll be back on Monday morning at 8:20. Yes, so let's see what happens. Yeah, all my nieces are really quite concerned. So I don't think it will go dark on Sunday. It will take some time if the law is upheld.